The first speaker, Muhammad Tanim Nowshad, please come. He is going to speak on Anekāntavāda, a special Jain episteme which can shun monoculturalism and monolithic understanding of the world. Mr. Muhammad Tanim Nowshad is adjunct faculty of Department of Communication Disorders, University of Dhaka, Bangladesh. Muhammad Tanim Nowshad is a researcher, writer and translator. He is a polyglot and writes in German, French, Spanish, Persian, along with English, and his mother tongue Bengali. He teaches German language and German philology at the University of Dhaka. He has written 12 books on different topics with vibrant varieties. He has translated several books from original German, French, Spanish and Persian texts into his mother tongue, like Hermann Kohl, Hesse's Siddhartha, and Friedrich Engels' The Peasant War in Germany, and so forth. He has worked in many renowned national and international organizations as a researcher and chief researcher. He is also a permanent and regular writer of Presenza, an international press agency. He writes there in English and Spanish. Recently, he has been working with International Mother Tongue Institute to compile entries on global and aerial languages and their linguistic patterns for an encyclopedic work under the government of Bangladesh. Here, he has been contributing the highest number of entries. Theology and philosophy are his passions. He has written intensively on Marxism, Shiite Islam, Christianity, Sikhism and Vaishnavism. Recently he has been writing intensively on Jain philosophy and the teachings of Jain Tīrthaṅkaras. Since last year he has been writing in English in the Jain Journal, a peer-reviewed research quarterly published from Kolkata, India. At the same time he has been writing in Tanimji will be presenting the paper now on Anekāntavāda, a special Jain episteme which can shun monoculturalism and monolithic understanding of the world.
Okay, thank you very much. And sabse pehle pranam Nagraj ji, and best wishes for the audience. I will actually talk on some strategic issues from where we can actually glance benefit for the global peace and the global harmony of the world. So it is actually not any theological textual reading, rather what actually strategies do, like Johann Galtung and others, that I will read the text according to myself, because my objective is to glean strategic benefit from Anekāntavāda. And you have heard already that the topic is Anekāntavāda, special Jain episteme which can shun monoculturalism and monolithic understanding of the world. A lot of things are written here, and when you will publish it, I will enlarge it. Rather, I better actually glance over the slides, then I can actually cover the time. So you know this famous allegorical picture that what Anekāntavāda means. The Jains frequently use this picture that an elephant can be perceived differently by different peoples, and they build their world view accordingly. We use a German term, Weltanschauung. Our Belgian doctor here, he knows German very well. So, we know that we will deal with AAA, Anekāntavāda, Aparigraha and Ahimsa. But in contrast to that, I have coined a triple P, and that is parochial perceptibility of phenomena, which actually ushers the way of Maya, or the Mayic world, or the illusory world, and which creates our own world, and therefore we embroil ourselves into conflict, disorder, and create an unpeaceful world. The same picture, but in a very better shape, as a sculpture. I will use two guiding premises for the lecture, which can actually guide us properly for the better understanding of the lecture. This is also famous allegory of cave used by great Greek philosopher Plato. It is actually quite similar to Anekāntavāda's coordinate issues. Why we use it, I better tell it, because when we glean strategic benefit, we have to show the world that the same things already been echoed by different people in different times. Then we can actually create a bondage with others for the better understanding of the world and brotherhood. The first is the national poet of India and the great Bengali poet Rabindranath Tagore. For sin is not one mere action, it is an attitude of life which takes for granted that we are not all essentially one, but exist each for his own separate individual. Take a look. For sin is not one mere action, it is an attitude. We think that we are people apart, but we are actually not. It is because of our aham or mon or ego. Later we also talk on this issue more. And second is again from a great Greek philosopher Plato. I'm talking about Plato because Robert North Whitehead, a great a modern time philosopher, said about Plato that modern philosophies are nothing more than the footnotes of Plato. So therefore we have no way to evade Plato, even till Karl Marx. So reality is created by the mind. We can change our reality by changing our mind. You see that the same thing has been echoed by the Jain Munis and Jain Arihants. How Anekāntavāda is consisted of? We are not going to a broader definition of Anekāntavāda because you know all these things very well. So I should not spend a lot of time, but I can actually talk in a minimal words that Anekāntavāda means that we have the parochial understanding of the reality because of Maya or illusion. Therefore, we build our own reality, which is actually not the reality at all. We should not say it is reality at all. It's a partial reality, but only the Arihants and the Tīrthaṅkaras can know the reality because it is their worldview, because they know the whole, W-H-O-L-E. Why? Because they have already crossed the limit of Maya. And scientifically also we can prove it because we are three-dimensional beings. So it is not possible for ourselves to understand the whole, the reality or the totality. So we see that the Jainism has a basic scientific base as well. So Jain philosophy deals with a lot of philosophical branches, and Anekāntavāda is not actually far away from it. It is the philosophy basically developed on Jain epistemology and Jain gnosis. I have used this term because gnosis is something more than science and more than philosophy, because our visible and perceived philosophy has some limitation, but gnosis already crossed it because it can cover the philosophy which would be developed in the future time. Second, it is very much logic-oriented. As far I have explored Indian philosophy, Buddhism and Jainism, I have thought that Jain philosophy did rationality more than other branches of philosophy of Indian subcontinent. So it is based on logic, and I have applied the word reasoning because it also motivates us to understand logic in the material understanding, but Jainism also crossed the limit. It also deals with immaterial world with logic. So it is a very nice tea of settling both material and immaterial things. It uses mathematics. We know that we have already known the time cycle, Utsarpini and Abusarpini, when the Tīrthaṅkaras appear to the world and resolve the global problems. So this is also mathematics oriented. It is lexicographical because it has specific terminologies, and eclectically the Jains already selected appropriate words, and therefore the philosophy turned into got a very better shape and purview and could rationally cast the philosophical ideas in front of the people. The prose, because I have no access into the Maghudi or Prakrita, but as I have read from the German text and also French and English text, the prose are very precise, conspicuous descriptions, so I simply appreciate all this. The branches of philosophy that Anekāntavāda includes, it's cosmology, so I need not to explain a lot. When you publish my paper, there you will get the description. So it also phenomenology, and I also use the word Weltanschauung because it depends upon the perceptibility of the Tīrthaṅkaras, not human beings, because we have the limitation of understanding. We have parochial understanding. It deals with ontology, because how being develops and evolves, and also have a concatenation with other beings and the whole system, and also the cosmology. So it is also the question of ontological issue. It deals with existentialism, definitely, because how we exist and how our existence would be gradually, phase by phase. The Jainism also deal this issue. It is also available in other branches of Indian culture and Indian spirituality. So, and also definitely hermeneutics, how reason and understanding were and how they evolve and would be. So these are also the fall in the ambit of hermeneutics. And we slightly take a look on Tatthartha Sutra of Acharya Umaswami, because here he dealt with relativism of Jainism. It is also nothing but the one sort of an extension of Anekāntavāda, because he developed this treatise on Anekāntavāda, and Jeffrey DeLong worked on it. He did his PhD on this issue, so we will slightly glance over it. Now, take a look what Anekāntavāda contributes. So, we talked about great Greek philosopher Plato, that in the in allegory of cave, that some prisoners were prisoned and they see the shadowy world and they perceive the world and reality from that, like that allegory of elephant. And so, therefore, we cannot debunk the truth, and we always get involved into Maya, and the illusion continues. So I have written here that it clarifies that we are finite, our understanding is limited, wrapped up by Maya illusion, that the outcomes of ahom or mon, its synonym can be ego. So religious extremism and philosophical bigotry actually the outcomes of our unconsciousness, the example of elephant, and also the allegory of cave of Greek philosopher Plato. And here I have slightly compared the philosopher king of Plato with the Tīrthaṅkaras. I know that it's not easy to compare between these two, but to rationalize it and to tangible for others, I have drawn this analogy. But this analogy is not that much baseless, because Plato's philosopher king is not mere a person who understands the material world only. Because in a question of this philosopher king, Plato portrayed a different human being. He can understand such an universe and the reality which other people, the commoners, the general people cannot perceive. So it is completely comparable with the Tīrthaṅkaras, and therefore it is possible for him to realize the whole, the reality. And therefore, we can say that any suggestion or the guidance for humanity can be provided by only the omniscient arihants and omnipotent Tīrthaṅkaras. As far I have learned, because I am not from Jain background, that all Tīrthaṅkaras are arihants, but all arihants are not Tīrthaṅkaras. So this is also this allegory of Kip. And here I have also written that absolute knowledge cannot be gained by the commoners. We should therefore reject all types of absolutism. Why absolutism can be rejected? Anekāntavāda logically posits the fact that if we have parochial understanding of the world, we cannot create any worldview or any Weltanschauung. But human beings have limitations, so what to do? So at best, it can provide some solution, or these philosophies or ideologies got developed for the betterment of the people, and the limitation can never be crossed by the commoners. So I have understood, as I have told you, that it is a strategic objective. So like Johann Galtung and others, I will read according to myself the philosophical things, that, okay, this philosophical productions or outcomes can stay in the world abreast, and we can create a harmony, a peaceful world. But it is to be noted that it is because of our fragmented understanding of the world, we cannot understand the totality or the whole entirely. So here we know that sammyakata, or the right belief, and mithyata, or false beliefs, can be thoroughly comprehended by the omniscient beings, but we are not able to do this. So it should be taken for granted when we strategize these facts and apply for the betterment of the world. Then Pattusamutpada and Anekāntavāda's a bit, comparison. You know that the first one is actually dependent origination, the chain of causality. It is completely, a bit synonymous to the Hegelian dialectic, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. So I've just used that beautiful Sanskrit sentence, ekam sadvipra bahuda badanti, that which exists in one, so just call it by various names. Why I have used this? Because I have told before that if I have to address the world, I have to show that the same things are functioning among themselves, but they don't know. And the chain of causality is a very beautiful and phenomenal understanding that nothing is actually new. A phenomena creates another phenomena. The causes we are seeing actually emerge from other causes. So we cannot break the chain of reality, and therefore we are not thing apart, and therefore we should also believe that we are connected with one another. So I'm just telling the same thing, the pre-existing phenomena give birth to new phenomena. It also infers the rebirth and also the cycle of birth. So Anekāntavāda then rationalizes the parochial understanding from the reception's point, I mean, not from the Tīrthaṅkaras or the, I mean the omnipotent and omniscient beings understanding, but it is actually the reception's point, from my understanding, and because the Tīrthaṅkaras know the whole, therefore it is actually applicable for the people who deal with the fragmented knowledge. So, Anekāntavāda, we reorient ourselves to the eye-opening and realization of our limitation. So the conscious beings will start to keep up a perfunctory relation with this reality. They won't abide by any more the drastic and monolithic faiths and philosophies. As they will overcome their limitations and they have known their ego, they will subsequently shun hatred. Now we are going to the salvation mechanics of Jainism by the Orihans and the Tīrthaṅkaras. And definitely we can jump to the particular proposition of AAA, which actually synergize one another, I mean energize one another. Anekāntavāda is at the apex, another point is aparigraha, and another is ahimsa. And why they actually synergize one another. Yesterday, Sudarshanaji told us that we can, she actually described some particular points by 3 words: spirituality, divinity, and bliss. But last night I realized that Anekāntavāda also symbolizes spirituality, because only the spiritual human beings can understand this, the general people cannot. And it leads to also aparigraha, because when you realize the whole, you have a very perfunctory relation with this present world. So it is also it also symbolizes divinity. And later we jump to the ahimsa, and in the celestial abode there will be no hatred. So it is actually particularly a symbol of bliss. So why I have talked on all these issues? Because my basic education is international relations. I mean, my graduation and master's. In the global politics, we see that we face a very drastic position of a realist understanding, which is, we call it, we use a particular terminology, realpolitik, which was propagated once upon a time by Hans J. Morgenthau, and also Kenneth Walsh during the time of Cold War. They believe that this material world is the only solution, and it can be better if a global world order can be created under the domination of the most powerful nations. So the occupation of others' territories, the forceful evacuation, all are legitimate according to this philosophy. So Anekāntavāda can actually shun this monolithic understanding, and it has also the objective to show that what we call final, it is actually not absolute or final. So finally, we can draw a summation from the basic understanding of Jain philosophy, that which can be called the Jain soteriology. Knowledge from the known and the unknown world by applying the pure sense of cosmology is scrutiny through the lens of logic, understanding the outcomes with objective and rational perspectives through philosophical judgment, especially by phenomenology and ontology. Then, and it is actually the Jain soteriology, I mean, it is exemption from the karmic bondage and attainment of moksha. So when we see that moksha is the final conclusion, we must not actually hanker after the material objective of the world. So the outcomes from strategic and managerial perspective, actually what we have discussed, from there we can come to very key conclusions, that learning to respect different opinions, diversity of understanding, multiculturalism, and plurality of worldviews could be accommodated by this philosophical judgment. And therefore, subsequently, violence, war, and intolerance can be minimized, at least diluted, and even can be vaporized. Global humanity can work together to establish peace, because we have already learned to respect each other. And if we cannot make a better world, at least we can create a modus vivendi, and a better status quo can be created, where we can at least harmoniously live together. May not be completely tangible for one another, but at least we can create a modus vivendi. Now we will precisely talk about the roles of the Jains for this particular objective. They should promote the great philosophies, and mainly Anekāntavāda. They should write philosophical treatises on it, like the great workmanship of Umasami and Tattvavar Sutra, because here he also explained joint relativity, joint functionality, that if we understand this world is relative, we cannot actually hanker after for wealth or also quarrel with one another. And a lot of philosophy can be promoted from it, like Nyayavada. Jeffrey DeLong called it the doctrine of perspectives. All this enrich the Jain thesis of relativism. So my concluding remarks are actually some propositions. The Jains can propose the United Nations Organization and other supranational organizations and international organizations to accept Anekāntavāda as a philosophical maxim for their peace mission and propagate it as a great sagacity and global heritage to establish a meaningful and sustainable global peaceful order. So this is Lord Mahavira, one of my most beloved pictures. So thank you very much. Namaste. Jai Jinendra. And this is Lord Rishabhdeva. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanim ji, for the wonderful presentation. It was very scholarly and highly intricate in its analysis. Any questions? Achyut ji.
Interested to know how you connected these both terms. Another question is, you also connected Pratitya Samutpad with Anekānt. So I want to know in what regard, in what terms you are connecting both these philosophical discourses. And I also want to know, do you also get any primary source where you can find Maya? You are using Maya and illusion again and again for ignorance, agyan. So do you find any primary sources in Jain text where we can find this word? Thank you.
I have, at the first time, I have told you one thing, and the audience, you could not actually carefully consider it. I said from Johann Galtung and others, when we strategize, we actually involve a lot of things, and we read strategies according to ourselves, because it is our objectives to glean such a thing that we can use it for the betterment of the world. So your reading is different from my reading. And second question you have told me. I am not telling about that Anekāntavāda is actually closely related with mathematics. I am telling that Jain philosophies have greater understanding, and also it has connection with mathematics. So logic and reasoning are involved in Jain as itself. So it is actually my understanding. It's not particularly on Anekāntavāda. I am talked about Utsarpini and Avusarpini in a particular time frame. The Tīrthaṅkaras appear in the world. So from that broader sense. No. I am not talking about this. I have told about this eventually when I talked about actually Orihants and Tīrthaṅkaras, not on relating to Anekāntavāda. A lot of things actually come to any speech eventually. Sunilji, you have any question?
Philosopher kings of Plato.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this earlier also.
Yeah, we will come on this issue.
Yeah, but my question was, there are accounts of even predating the incursion of Alexander into the Indian subcontinent, of interaction between the Hellenic culture and Indian culture. They generally refer to Indic scholars and gymnosophists. So, as in the West, when it colonized us, like to attribute a Greek source to everything. These days, many Indic scholars have a tendency to say that it was the Indian subcontinent was the origin of many of ideas. For example, the Tīrthaṅkaras theorem, which everybody taught, comes from Mahayana and Shubha Sutra. So, the philosopher king concept and the ship of state and the theory of form. So, in your opinion, did Greek culture learn something from Mexican or of Indian because the Greek worldview is in some ways similar but very different also. They have a hierarchy of internal Olympus and all of that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sunil. Just a nice question. You have told me about Pythagoras, and we have read in Rahul Sanskritayans Ganga se Volga tak, most probably in Hindi, from Ganges to Volga. So definitely, once upon a time, India illuminated the whole world, and it is my belief that philosophy and mathematics also once upon a time generated in India. So it can be, but I have told you that strategically we acknowledge other people. Maybe Plato's knowledge also once upon a time conveyed from India to Greece. But when we are connecting people, we are not actually going to involve into this quarrel, who originated which. We are only addressing strategically, okay, you have this sublime concepts and we have those, so therefore we can be together. This is actually my premise. Thank you so much. Okay.
You might clearly talk about synthesis.
No, I should.
I have an issue with that. It would not be about synthesis. Rather, it celebrates.
No, I have actually talked on synthesis on Sampatpada, that particular issue, that Buddhist philosophy.
Pratitya Samutpad.
Yeah.
But that also would not talk about synthesis.
No. I have told you that these two things cannot be 100% similar.
No, they are not.
No, that not be 100% similar. But when we will strategically address anything, for the apparent understanding, we show the similarity because to gain the strategic objective. I have written from the perspective of international relations.
But similarity for what?
Similarity to create harmony, because we have already told Mr. Sunilji that they have the similar properties and we have, so we can combine ourselves for the peaceful world.
I'll tell you, no.
Something which goes against both Pratitya Samutpad and Anekāntavāda. Rather than similarity, it is about celebrating the differences. And that's the beauty of Anekāntavāda, because something is something which is not.
Yeah.
So if we both have an agreement, then that is not something what Anekāntavāda actually it is. It is about it is and it is not. It sees different from different perspectives and therefore you celebrate the differences.
Yeah.
That is what it is. If you talk about synthesis, then please allow me to say it will go to Hegelian Geist.
Yeah.
And that is not what it is. It is about becoming. It is not about becoming. It is accepting the differences. That is what it is. And many of us make the mistake of saying that Anekāntavāda is about synthesis when it is not. Because Hegelian dialectic says that something is something, not something comes out of it, then again there is an opposite, and that whole will become a Geist someday, but which is not, which will never be. According to Pratitya Samutpad also it will never be, and according to Anekāntavāda also it will never be like that.
Okay.
So it celebrates the differences.
Yes.
Okay.
I can understand that
Yes.
you can raise this issue, but as a student of Johann Galtung, we will take the advantage of our understanding because we will apply it for the sense of a peaceful world, and we will sometimes intricate from our understanding.
No, that is okay, but I think we have to understand it from its core philosophical point of view.
Okay.
What they are trying to say. In itself, what Anekāntavāda is trying to say, and in itself, what Pratitya is trying to say, and then try to apply. Then, otherwise, we are deviating the whole philosophy of what it is. Anyway, we can discuss it later. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. I mean, it cannot be concluded within this.
Exactly, we cannot.
We can sit together later
Yes,
on.
yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Rishabh. Yes.
Probably in Samvayam Sutra or Sutra Krutang Sutra, there is a concept of Vibhajyavad also mentioned in the early Jain text. So have you tried comparing them? Because Pandit Dalsukhbhai Malvania has written an article on that, and he has presented Anekāntavāda as the later development of Vibhajyavad. So have you tried comparing that?
Yeah.
Because Pandit Dalsukhbhai Malvania has written an article on that. and he has presented Anekāntavāda as the later development of Vibhajyavad. So have you tried comparing that?
Because, that I'm not from a Jain philosophy or Jain background, so you can also give me those papers and I'll examine those minor to it. Thank you so much.
Definitely.